And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen around the world, wherever you're watching from. I'd love to welcome you to VirtualRacing.Network's live coverage, inaugural coverage of the US IndyCar League's StickQuik Texas 175, brought to you by Alzheimer's.org. Today's Sunday, May 23rd, at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, as you can see in the background, and we're getting ready to give you some great action today. It's the season finale for the US IndyCar League Season 10 coming to a close with some points up for grabs. It's really anybody's championship. And my name, of course, is Trevor Greenfield. I'll be bringing you all of the coverage here today as your host commentator. But I'm so happy to be joined by none other than Matt Kingsbury, my friend and teammate at Last Lap Motorsports. And also, you may know Matt because he's been around in the IndyCar circles for quite a while. Lots of wins in different IndyCar Open and different leagues. Matt, also the winner last year of the 2020 Indy 500 second split, 4-wide finish. And so, Matt, so awesome to have you join us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Trevor. It's great to be here. Should be a good race. This track is spectacular, and it's definitely going to put on a good show.
Totally, yeah. Texas never disappoints. I mean, it says it for a reason up there. You know, no limits basically here at Texas. Anything goes. It's 2 wide, 3 wide. There's no limits. I mean, that's basically what that means. So, I mean, do you conserve all race? Do you go hard from the very beginning? It's totally up to you. So, hey, Matt, let's see. They're qualifying right now, and right now we can see that Richard Kelba has taken the provisional pole here at 24.102. I believe was the last lap. So Richard Kelba starting from the pole with Jason Lowe there, our series points leader in second. Yeah, 24.102 for Kelba, and Lowe 24.106. Lavison there at 24.115. Kennedy 24.116. Ensch starting fifth. And then Zaleski 6th, Will Stern 7th. Mike West and Matthew Simpson, also in this race, have not yet set a qualifying lap, so we await them on track. But, Matt, you were just telling me before this broadcast, why don't I go ahead and show the weather while we've got it. Virtually, it's May 15th, and it's 9:21 virtually in the morning. So we're now looking at 28 degrees Celsius. So you were just telling me how the temp is going up. Maybe that's why all these guys got in their qualifying laps at the very beginning of the session.
Yeah, interestingly, some clouds just rolled over the track. So, you know, the sky is dynamic, but the weather's constant, meaning that we're going to have the humidity and the wind staying the same. But with the track, the track will be dynamic and it's going to change. So as the sun rises here, we're going to get some more heat into the track. I don't know how much hotter it's going to get. It's still pretty cool, pretty reasonable. But when I got in the session, it was 79 degrees, and it's already up to 83 degrees. And I saw it 84 earlier. So if the sun stays on the track and with cars running on it, it stays green, we could definitely see the temps rise pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And as the temps do rise, we'll have some tire fall off to deal with. And over these long stints, depending on how long they stay green, that could be a real issue. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a moment. What I'd like to do is go ahead and take a look at the crucial point standings that we have for this race, so I can get over to those points. And we'll take a look. So here we can see at the top of the championships, the points as we get going into this race. Jason Lowe, series director, with 11 starts, of course. Now, this, I should tell you to start, this is a no-drop league, meaning you have to make all of the starts if you want the best chance of getting the most amount of points. But here we look at Jason Lowe with 11 starts, 11 races, and then 3 wins but no poles. Dan Ensch, 1 win, no poles. Yet the driver that finds himself in third, Howard Livingston, no wins and no poles. And that has not been necessarily who's been lighting it up here in the series as of late. I believe it's Ryan Bowles who has come in with the last 2 victories. And so he's been on fire. And so now, as far as the championship points up for grabs for this race, realistically, Matt, we're pretty much just looking at Jason Lowe and Dan Ensch, maybe Howard Livingston fighting it out for that top position, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And Bunyan and Bowles actually aren't even here right now. A lot of the field missing. That's in the top half there. I'd assume possibly because the Indy 500 off, I think, at 9 o'clock. So they could have been drawn to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Indy 500 going on right now. Of course, that's the official iRacing Indy 500. But of course, if I was looking at possibly winning the championship, I might just be present for this race. However, it just depends on whether you were able to make an earlier Indy 500 and whether that's meaningful for you. So we'll get these points off the screen, and we hope to have a live announcement as to the championship winner at the end of this race. As we pull up the graphic and show you on screen, we get ready to go here behind the safety car. And so we are...
Trevor, who's your favorite?
My
Who's
favorite?
your favorite in this race?
Oh, goodness. If I have to take my partiality out of it, my last lap motorsports teammate, of course, is Dan Ensch. And
Yeah,
he's a great guy. Tough to say. It's a good... Who's your favorite in this one, since you're a little bit more impartial?
Yeah, I mean, I think speed-wise, Dan's not the favorite, but tactically-wise, I think he's the best choice. But if I have to go with speed, I think I can go with Keelaw here. I watched him in practice, and he was pretty consistent.
Very consistent. Obviously got the pole. He's not up to win the championship, but could be a great spoiler here. And if you got clean air, isn't that kind of what you want in these Indy cars, Matt? Just to lead this thing as we get ready to go to green. Don't you want that clean air?
Green flag, green flag.
Yeah, I'd agree, especially on a long run as we take the green flag here.
All right, well, we get going. Everything looks very clean as we have 9 cars taking the field. Mike West not setting a time. Looks like wasting no time. Jason Lowe going to the point.
Yeah, and interesting to see Dan Ensch drop back already a spot, so he's definitely going to be possibly saving fuel and just trying to play it safe.
And saving fuel might be a big ticket here, especially the longer the green flag runs. Can you talk a little bit about how that saving fuel might pan out here today?
Yeah, I mean, I know they can run fuel maps, and Dan told me they're running about 45 laps on the tank, I believe. So right now, as it runs, there's not really a strategy, but you could save time on a pit stop over a full tank. Get the tires on quicker and roll out of the box, possibly half a second faster.
Yeah, exactly. All kinds of different ways you can play around with that, and possibly be able to undercut your competition. And it all just comes down to when those cautions might come out. Thus far, we haven't seen any cautions, so that's good news. Usually it's you see one on the first lap, but this league being in its final race of the season, no doubt they're getting a little bit more aware of the fact that you don't want to be involved in a first lap wreck. Everybody kind of taking it easy. Just as I say that, we've got multiple passes going on here for third place. David Zaleski having quite a battle with James Kennedy on screen. And now Zaleski using that powerful draft here at Texas in these IR18 Indy cars to catch up to Kellaw and Lowe. So this pack is it's all just one field here, Matt. Nobody's breaking anything open.
Yeah, I think the track temp's a little too cold to break away right away. His track is going up 84 already, but I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of change as the temperature rise and as the tires wear. So what we see now, it could be a lot more spread out after pit stops or after a little bit of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it will hopefully stay nice and close for us, but as you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, not everybody's tire fall off is going to be the same depending on where you go with those in-car adjustments. Now, Matt, you have 4 different in-car adjustments. What would you be adjusting right now as we start to get to lap 7 of this race and tires start to get hot?
Yeah, me personally, if I'm sitting where like Dan is right now, I see Dan's actually a few spots, third. I'd be running fuel map 2 or 3 just to save a little bit of fuel, because I feel like with the draft you can still get the passing done. So I wouldn't be running map 1 full mix. I'd be running 2 or 3, and then I might be up in the weight jacket just a little bit depending on the balance. So if the car is feeling a little tight, I just take it up a little bit. So I'd rather be loose than tight. That's just me though. And then anti-roll bars I wouldn't touch right now. I leave them where they're at.
For sure. So I don't know whether that's actually I didn't look closely enough, but that may be actually showing the fuel mapping, and I don't really want to do that in live timing, so and during the live broadcast. So we'll just stay out of the cockpit view for now and stay to this. But this is a heck of a battle, and definitely people are going to be using, these different drivers are going to be using different tactics, whether you're adjusting your roll bar front, or you're adjusting that weight jacker, or just saving fuel by staying in the draft, maybe going to a higher fuel map, as you just mentioned. Lots of different options available to maybe overcome the fact that this is, and we didn't discuss it, but this is a fixed series, a fixed setup series, so you don't really have any option to do anything other than just your in-car adjustments while you're driving. So that's something different than the Indy 500 that's going on right now and has been going on for several days on the iRacing service. And in the Indy Open Series, you have different leagues. For those of you who may not be aware, as we see side-by-side action with Dan Ensch making his pass on David Zaleski there for second, the whole field staying in a tight pack. But yeah, you have different abilities to either have an open series where you can change different configuration settings in the setup, or you can go with a fixed series, such as the Indy Oval Fixed Series, and you're kind of dealt a hand of cards, and you've got to just adapt to that. And this league is one of those leagues, so always tricky to adapt to a fixed setup.
Yeah, it can be, but I think with the changes to the rules, it used to be it was fixed. You couldn't change the weight jacket or the anti-roll bars or fuel map. You had to just run what it was. I think with the recent changes to allow that, it's made for a lot better racing and a lot more comfortability in this car for fixed racing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's opened it up, especially in that fixed series. It's opened it up a bunch. Well, this is an exciting race. We weren't sure with this number of cars if it might get spread out, but we've got the whole field here right in the same pack. It looks like we haven't lost anybody, and it's really anybody's race here as we get to lap 15 of 117. No cautions yet. This is about as clean as I've seen any of these races, Matt.
Yeah, it's pretty clean so far. Everyone's making some pretty good moves. I haven't seen too much aggressiveness. I'm really actually, I think the most aggressive driver has been Dan Ensch, which has been pretty shocking to me and you. I watched him throw it down for P2 there a while back, and I was pretty shocked he made that move. So might be seeing a different angles today.
Yeah, Dan is. I've had the pleasure of running with Dan, and I was kind of shocked to see him take second there from Zaleski, but I don't know if that was Zaleski as he's kind of lining up Jason here. Maybe Zaleski wants to be out front. Of course, you really don't want to be out front if fuel mileage is in mind, because as soon as you're behind the leader, even though it's more difficult with that draft, the aero push from these Indy cars is so heavy. You actually lift and you're drafting, so you're saving fuel. But if you're out front, you don't have that option. All you can do is go up in the fuel map, which will save you some fuel, but will cost you some time. So it's interesting where everybody is choosing to run here. Lowe out in front. Obviously, the series captain knows what he's doing, has won multiple races here. And Zaleski also just following extremely closely there in second place.
Yeah, it looks like it's starting to spread out a little bit now. You got kind of like 3 packs here going on, but very easily you can close that gap down. The draft now extends back to like I think it's a second and a half or 2 seconds even here. So if you don't get too disconnected, you definitely get caught back up. But I think we're seeing a little bit of tire wear starting to creep in here for some of these guys, and they're just trying to readjust their cars, figure out the line.
Right, and so you would be adjusting as we go along. You might be going up, down on the weight jacker, depending. Oh, and then we have David Zaleski going side by side for the lead. But you would be adjusting as the stint goes on, and then managing that usually with the weight jacker going up if you need a little bit more turn, or coming down a little bit if you need a little bit less turn in the corner.
Correct. I think I'm watching Dan starting to reel him back in now. So maybe he changed something on the fuel map, or he's made a good change here to get it loosened up. But you always gotta be careful because, with our sets, when we build them for open, we always make sure we know where our limits are with our weight jacker, how far we can go before we know it's going to spin, and then we got to start working on anti-roll bar. So with a fixed set, if you haven't done those laps, you might want to adjust those, slowly and carefully until you start to get a good feel for it.
Absolutely, yeah, you can't. Oh, these are such, I mean, you can speak from experience, but these cars can go from a pleasure to drive to an absolute nightmare basket case in just a couple of corners if you have the wrong settings in there, or if you make an incorrect adjustment.
Yeah, I've had it once where I had the car riding slightly too low, and it was getting loose, so I went down the weight checker. And that actually made the car looser because it was bottoming out once I did that.
Huh? Well, and that's how the weight jacker works, is it actually lowers the rear ride height, and of course if you go too low to try to compensate, you're going to start bottoming, which is the opposite of what you really want to do with the car.
Yeah, I haven't noticed that as much on this car, but on the DW12 and the IR05, that was definitely a thing that I had managed to do.
So as we see these two battling side by side, and they continue to do so, it's anybody's. Is this what you want to be doing right now, Matt? As somebody who's been in championship hunt and won many races, is if you're in Zaleski's position, for example, do you want to be running side by side? Does it make a difference? Do you think you want to be filing? You want to be running nose to tail? How would you be running this race?
I mean, so the main reason I say this is Zaleski I think has the most to gain. He's not one of the two immediate championship contenders, right? So I think for him, just go after it, try to get the win. See if you can't get out in front of him, give him aero push. See if you can't break away. But at the same time, there's other ways to break away, but you got to be careful with how you do it. You got to. I wouldn't. I might short pit and try to do a strategy like that. I've done it before. Mm-hmm. It really depends on where your speed is. If you're faster by yourself than you are in the draft, right, then short pitting is maybe a strategy. Or if you have a friend to work with, you can slingshot draft, and that can be something to try.
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple different ways to work with it. As we were talking about earlier, you can take less fuel. You could choose if your tires, if you had just come in to take tires and you felt your tires were good, you could choose to not take tires. There's a number of different options to play with, and it just comes down to whether we're going to have a lot of green flag running or whether we're going to actually end up with any cautions. If we don't end up with any cautions, this is a whole different race in terms of strategy and execution than if we do end up with a caution, right?
Yeah, because then your race is essentially going to be one on pit lane. You can get in and out the fastest. And this is a very tricky place to enter pit lane, especially coming from 3 and 4 there, it's banked. You could lose the car. Someone could hit you from behind. So you got to make sure you're clear of communications. And then exiting the pit lane, it's super flat and it's super slippery. I've already seen, I saw Jason Lowe spin out in practice already once. I've seen a few others do it. I didn't catch their names, but this is one of the hardest places to pit because there's so much time you can gain from it. And you want to push the car, but there's a limit you can do, and if you push too hard, you're going to pay for it.
You push too hard, you are going to pay for it. This car is so sensitive with its damage that it's happened so many times that you don't even incur what we have in iRacing, which is a 0x That's the lowest form of a contact, is a 0x, where theoretically you would think, oh, no harm, no foul, there's no incident points actually assessed to you. It's just kind of alerting you that you touched the wall. But even if you don't get a 0x, even if it doesn't register as much as to say that you've made contact, you can still scrape the wall and damage your car to the point where it's undrivable. That's how sensitive this car is, and I just experienced that myself in the Indy 500 race that I was running yesterday. Just barely scraped the wall in turn 1, and that was enough to ruin my downforce and my race for the rest of the race. I had to survive, and then it just turns into one of those survivor races where you're hanging on to a broken car. Meanwhile, we're looking just a little bit further back. Dan Ensch, of course, your second place in the points, is just hanging on to this lead battle. He had drifted back to 0.6 of a second back. He seems to be managing his time here. He's now he's actually brought it back to about 0.4 of a second back from David Zaleski. Matt, what do you think is going through Dan's mind? You think he is in fuel saving mode maybe, while his competitor Jason is not? He's at the front. So Jason's not saving fuel, and do you think Dan is just sitting there trying to maintain this gap?
Dan is definitely saving fuel. I just don't know if I would do it the way he's doing it. I always like to be, well, he's third in line, which makes it a lot harder on the tires, with the lack of downforce. But if I'm him, I would be, well, you can see he's aiming towards the clean air, which is really great. And he's doing a good job through 1 and 2. I think he's got better grip there than them. But in 3 and 4, having the clean track isn't usually as big of a deal because there's so much more bank there. So I think he is doing a good job at saving fuel, and he's just biding his time. Also, quick side note, the track temperature is up to 88 degrees, so it's definitely climbing.
Definitely climbing. Yeah, 88, that's, like, generally speaking, relatively speaking, 88 is not that much. No. We were just at 133 at Indy for this week. So, and that's just brutal. But again, we've still got, 70 laps to go. And when you do have a 10, 15, 20 degree swing from the beginning of the race to the end, that can really mess with you and where you've got your favorite settings for your weight jacker. And it just changes the whole car. 20 degrees on track can completely change the feeling of the car.
Yeah, and we're looking at 8 since the start. And as you get later in the day, it starts to heat up quicker. So 10 o'clock here, it should start to kick up another, 3-4 degrees maybe throughout that. So I don't think we'll see more in excess of 100 degrees here, but we could see up into the 90s.
And we just saw Will Stearns in this battle here with Rick Leveson. And it looks like they've been enjoying quite a battle there for 6, but Will pull back ahead here. We'll see if he can hold on to 6. Why don't we do a quick recap as we get ready for the pit cycle to start. We've got Jason Lowe here coming from, I believe he started 2nd place and now immediately up into 1st. David Zaleski into 2nd place. He's up 4 positions today. From where he began. Dan Ensch up a position here in 3rd. And of course, everybody staying in this nice, neat, tight pack. I think everybody's just kind of waiting for something to break open, but Richard Kelba here, your pole sitter, has drifted back to 4th place. Again, could be deciding that fuel saving is the way to go today. We'll have to find out in the long run. James Kennedy here in 5th place has lost a position on the day, but still hanging tight there with Richard Kelba right in front. Will Stearns has now drifted, so this is starting to break open a little bit at the back from 6th place. Will is up a position today, but is now close to 2 seconds back. We'll see if we can zoom back here. You'll see just how far that is on the track. It's quite a distance. And so, Matt, how far back do you think you have to be in order to catch somebody's draft at this track?
I would say that he's just at the tail end of it here. He's probably lost it from where he's at. I think it's probably like 1.8, because if you're got tire wear and you're not close enough, you are going to start to drop back.
Absolutely going to start dropping off of that lead pack and that fast draft speed, and then you find yourself kind of in no man's land there, waiting to catch somebody else's draft or have something else good for you happen. I recognize Will from a lot of the racing I've been doing around iRacing. Very talented, skilled guy, so perhaps he's got a plan for later on in the race, or perhaps maybe those in-car adjustments just not quite working for him. Either way, he's up a position, which is better than where he started. And so we'll keep track of his progress. Here we got Rick Levison, and now we have Jason Lowe entering pit lane. So let's go to that live coverage. Here's Jason Lowe on pit lane, your race leader in, as well as James Kennedy following into pit lane. So that leaves David Zaleski on track as your race leader with Dan Ensch in second. Again, Matt, this no surprise that Jason Lowe having to come in so early, as we're seeing that Richard Kelbaugh also entering the pits.
Yeah, and I'd say Jason had a pretty conservative entry there. He didn't lose too much time, but he definitely could have gotten a little more out of it. So if a driver is willing to push the car, I have a feeling we're going to see, some shakeups in the order as in comes Stern, or in comes Zaleski.
Yes, Zaleski has just entered the pits, so we'll have to see how all of this shakes out. Of course, Lowe pitting from the lead, and it looks like this is still leaving Dan Ensch out there. Dan must have been doing that fuel saving, that aggressive fuel saving, because here he is 2 laps later still going around. Zaleski and Stearns have entered the pits. So where will this put Lowe? Lowe is currently shown just ahead of Kennedy.
Looks like Zaleski had a pretty slow entry, about a second slower than Lowe. So he should be well clear. Yeah, it's no contest there as he blows right by on the backstretch.
So here we can see some of the pit stop strategy. Let's see if we can see the time spent there on pit road. And you can see Lowe, so far the lowest time spent on pit road. So, and
well,
here he's under attack, isn't he?
I would say actually their stops were even, because the exit was much better for Zaleski. He was about a second faster on the exit. So he lost a second coming in, but he gained it coming out. As Dan Ensch is just called out, he's pitting, so we'll see him down in standby.
Okay. It'd be interesting to see where he slots back in. This has given the virtual lead of the race over to James Kennedy, who managed to do something miraculous on that pit stop, overcoming Jason Lowe, and now finding himself in the virtual lead. Dan Ensch, as you just mentioned, now in the pits, and remains to be seen where he will cycle back out.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on his pit exit here. The pit in was pretty solid. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was a little conservative.
Dan now leaving the pits. A little bit slower. And we are yellow. My goodness.
Front stretch. Will Stearns.
Will Stearns. And there we jump on board a little bit late. Let's see if we can back it up and see exactly what happened to Will. Now, Will had already pitted, I believe, and just lost it by himself. No contact with anybody else. Fortunate that nobody else finds themselves out of this race. And so this is one of those weirdly timed cautions where everybody has just made their pit stop, and this is gonna.
I think it's good because it keeps keeps anyone from getting messed up by a strategy here. But it looked like he may have froze up on his computer, is what he said. So that's unfortunate, and that would explain the the severity of the incident because he kind of just carried full speed, no turning into the wall. So that would explain that.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate thing. I've seen that happen with so many people. Myself, now I'll probably have this happen that I'm saying this. I've not had a total freeze up like that, but iRacing is not perfect. It is a game, and occasionally people's machines not up to the task of managing all that data at the same time, or maybe it's just iRacing's bugs that come out to shine at the worst moments when you're in the heat of a race and you don't need something to happen. So what we've got here is we've got James Kennedy ducking into the pits. I believe trading that track position. Also, David Zaleski coming into the pits. So are they trading track position to top up their fuel? What do you think is going on here, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, they've also run a few laps on their tires, and Dan just came out of the pits as the caution flew. So I think their call there is just, let's put ourselves on the newest tires. It seems like we're starting to struggle there. So get on new tires, get as much fuel in the car, and just, see where it takes us.
Well, this is a perfect time for us to go to our first sponsor message of the race. Matt, you'll let me know if we get close to going to a green flag there. I'm going to go ahead and give a plug to StickQuik, the title sponsor of this race in partnership with US IndyCar League. And StickQuik is the ultimate tool accessory. It's patented. The patented StickQuik is the only product of its kind designed to hold multiple types of hand tools, cooking utensils, and writing implements to any surface, making the item ready for instant retrieval and use. I mean, as soon as you see this thing, to me, as soon as I see this thing, these things, these grippers, as soon as I see them, instantly, my brain is thinking of 100 different things I can use around my house, from my kitchen to, obviously, my garage. Their website has a lot of great different colors you can buy, as well as different use applications. As you can see, they come in all different colors, so one to match your race team. Matt, you can get it. You can get all of your tools and everything to get the same color. So definitely go to stickquick.com for more information, and go ahead and move back to our live coverage. So, Matt, I'm just going to say it looks pretty amazing from Dan Ensch's standpoint. He comes in just before the yellow comes out for Will and basically makes this miraculous charge from where he was running previously, like in third and fourth position, straight up to the front. And now his title contending challenger, Lowe, finds himself in fifth place. So quite a bit of distance, and that's exactly what you would want to see if you're Dan Ensch. You want to see Lowe separated by 4 cars from you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It was hard to pass the leader because they can run kind of white line the whole way around almost. Not quite, but they had a better shot at it. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I do like that Dan's kind of flipping the tables here. He's putting the pressure on Jason. He's saying, you're gonna have to come to me if you wanna win this thing. So that's gonna make Jason have to be more aggressive possibly here, or not. It is a longer race, and we're on lap 55. So fuel strategy is still out there. But we're about to go back to green here, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think Jason's gonna try to get right back up there though and get right to the battle.
Well, this has been quite the interesting battle so far as Dan heads to the start-finish tower in first place at 56 laps in. We have James Kennedy already looking in second place, possibly to take Rick Levison.
Yeah, and Dan Ensch got a great restart there. He's already popped out probably half a second, 3/4 second lead there.
Absolutely. Dan, very experienced, runs multiple leagues, including the Elite Series, which we've been a part of. And He runs another league on Friday night, so this is a guy who's doing a lot of iRacing and really staying up to speed. And here, look at this. This is James Kennedy slicing and dicing.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with moving around like that on the exit corner because the car will load and deload. So you gotta be careful it doesn't grip up and turn down the track.
Absolutely. Just like we were talking before, it only takes that one wrong call on how to position the car, or that one wrong call for the weight jacker, and you try to make too much of a turn in a corner and you could go right around and end your day. So you got to be careful. You can't, it's an IndyCar, it's super nimble, very agile. You can definitely slice and dice, but there is a limit to it, Matt.
Yeah, and I'm also looking around. We got 2x2 here at the front nearly, but off the back we've lost. It looks like Simpson. He's running 25-second flat laps, and he's off the back of the pack here. So not sure if there's a fuel strategy he's trying to run, or if he just lost the draft. And then Richard Kelbaugh is a little bit off the back here too, but it looks like he's definitely saving fuel as hit some close call there from Rick Lovison.
Yeah, real close. And here we can see Kennedy at the front has gone. Okay, Kennedy has gone to the front past Dan Ensch. So whether Dan giving up that position willingly to try to save fuel, or whether Kennedy wants this win so bad he's willing to do anything to stay up in that top position, is the question. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars battling it out for first place right now.
Yeah, it looked like he just got a great run off turn 2 there. And Dan didn't cover up the bottom as well as I would have probably done in his position. But that's a call you got to make. Sometimes running out front is a disadvantage. Sometimes it's a great advantage. As you can see, he's basically running the white line here and not moving an inch.
Well, and you can speak to this. The biggest advantage would just be that you can completely control what happens to your car. It's just clean air. So you can position your car however you want, and as long as you're not being trapped from the outside or the inside by a car being side by side. But if you're in the lead and you have clean air, it is a very freeing thing, and you can drive your line and do your adjustments the way you want. Whereas if you are trying to save fuel, you're in second or third, fourth place back there, it can dirty up the air really, really bad, and you really don't have control over where you want to put the car because you have to make it through the corner and stay in the draft. So potentially more tire wear being in the draft, and certainly it's a lot less comfortable to be there.
Yeah, I think Dan's in a tough spot here because he needs to keep, the car in the draft to stay fast, but then you also got to defend from the guy behind you who's using your draft. So it's a double-edged sword. You got to figure out which lane you want to run, and then especially through 1 and 2 there, you can see getting pretty tight running that bottom line like that. Oh, leader's got loose. He's definitely running a lot of weight jacker there.
So Kennedy getting loose, just trying to stay up there in front.
Yeah, he's trying to run that bottom line to, not giving a draft. In his position, I would be running the top attitude because he's starting to do that now. When it starts to spread out like this, actually running the bottom can be worse for you because then everyone's able to read it.
Absolutely torching those tires, and like I said, over the long course of the stint, your options get more and more limited if you let that right rear start to cook out and the tire wear starts to happen. Your options start getting very limited in how you can position the car, whereas if you can save that right rear tire especially, you have a lot more options which you can do at the end of the stint. So it looks like, just to recap here, we are 68 laps of 117, and we have been almost totally green flag from the very beginning, with just one accident coming from Will Stearns, who unfortunately appeared to have a technical malfunction. However, it's James Kennedy, not Jason Lowe, not Dan Ensch, None of the other favorites up there in the front. It is James Kennedy who's made the march to the front, is holding the point, although now appears to be under attack from David Zaleski, and we'll have to see what shakes down there. Dan Ensch in third, Jason Lowe in fourth, so Lowe and Ensch running nose to tail. Lovison in fifth, and Kelba in sixth. Now Kelba is 6/10 off of Lovison, so it appears as though he's still there. However, Matthew J. Simpson has actually dropped back, and as we can see here at the front, Matt, David Zaleski has decided he wants back in control. He wants the lead, and he assumes first place.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move here. Kennedy is definitely struggling with his tire wear. I can tell by the way he's running the car in the second groove there. He's definitely loose, and he's definitely hurt those rear tires. So he's not having the back double jet going down, which means he's going to be pretty much, tight. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can recover, pull the tire down, recover the balance without losing too much drag position. But if I'm Dan Ensch, I'd probably try to pounce on this and see if I can get around him.
So as we come up to, we're getting back, or we're getting close to what is going to be potentially the very final stop. Matt, you were doing some of the fuel numbers ahead of time. What lap, like how many laps can we do on a green flag stint? And so what lap would we need to come in for if we were going to try to hit those numbers?
I think this lap they may be able to make it, next lap for sure. So if someone wants to roll the dice and try to run by themselves, run the ideal qualifying line, ideal racing line, maximize their tires, I think now is the time to go down. I don't know if it is the right time. I think you might want to wait a few more laps just to let the tires start to sit in, because you don't want yours to fade, when you're running. I don't think there's a big enough advantage to go down by yourself. I think if you're going down, you need to go down with a partner and someone to swap draft with. If you're not doing that, you're not going to gain much time.
That draft just being too valuable in terms of keeping everybody's pace up in the draft. Like, just for example, David Zaleski out in front last lap 24.67, and James Kennedy behind 24.75. However, Matthew J. Simpson, who's fallen off the pace, able to run a 24.65 excuse me, by himself. So potentially there is an opportunity for somebody to at least run pretty close to the same pace that the guys are running in the draft if they do run by themselves. But if you did have somebody to work with that could swap draft, that would work. So we might see, and here Jason Lowe making exactly that call, entering the pit lane as we go back to the live picture. Entering pit lane, do you think he's coming in to do the undercut strategy and get his tank filled up and be there for the end? What do you think, Matt?
I think so. He's going to take, he's obviously taking 4 tires here. He's going to take fuel. I think he wants to try to run by himself because he might be faster by himself than some of these guys. The real big determinant here is, do you come out in clean air? If you come out in the pack, you've just wasted your chance. There's no advantage. But as you can see here, he's come out in clean air. So when the strategy works out like that, I think you got to pounce on him. I think he's made a good call here. The worst thing that's going to happen is he's going to get the draft with a lap car, 2 laps possibly. Right, and if that happens, then he's just going to pick up speed. So it's a good call. I like it. It's aggressive. It's a call that I would make, especially if you look up here in the front first. They're now like sliding all over the track, throwing blocks, trying to arrow push each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what I'm seeing, and I think, hey, I can run faster than that by myself, I'm coming down. I like the call.
I agree with you. It's a great call from the standpoint too. He's running so close with Dan Ensch that Dan appears to have the speed to be able to put his car just about wherever he wants it in the draft. If he wants to pass, he can get up there. And so if you're caught in the midst of that, why not break away, do something a little different, take a chance, as we see our leader David Zaleski peel off and head into the pits. So Just a couple of laps later, he's taking the cue. That hands over the lead to James Kennedy, and we'll have to see where Zaleski comes out behind or in front of Lowe. We'll have to find out.
I think it's an interesting call. Obviously, he started to lose time because he's fighting there. Dan's not going to be fighting with the leader here. I think what Dan's going to, Dan's saving fuel still. So if this guy can pull his lap times together, if Kennedy can pull his lap times together, I think it's going to be helpful. But, it looks like he's actually pitting in. So I think Dan will stay out probably here. Turn to map 1, I'd imagine, and just try to run hot laps because I'm looking at his line, and it's a lot better than Kennedy's. So I think the tires are still better off there.
So the tires probably not falling off as badly as they could be. This is not quite such a hot track temp, but we are getting to the point where in this last stint that may become a serious factor with who can push their tires the longest. And of course, Lowe and Zaleski coming in earlier than Dan Ensch, for example. Dan will have the advantage when he pits. He'll have fresher tires for the end of this race should there be a shootout.
Yeah, I want to just see where their pace stacks up. If if they're faster than him, then which they are right now. They're running 24.5s, 24.4s.
Mm-hmm.
So if they keep swap drafting like this, they're gonna pull away and they're gonna battle amongst themselves. But Dan is running 24.6s right now, so by himself he's on pace. He's gone to map 1. He's kicked up the wick. So it'll be interesting to see, how that shakes out.
Well, Dan and Matthew Simpson, the only two cars who have not yet pitted. Again, just calling out that Dan is excellent on fuel saving, and that might be why he's still out there battling around. But you're right, a 24.64 in the last on the last lap, and it's not just about tires, but also about low fuel, giving you a little bit of extra speed advantage over those guys that may have fresh tires, but full fuel, right?
Correct. So if Dan was to pit, say, lap, I think he'd take him to around lap 100 on his tank, but if I would come down probably like 93, 94 if I'm running this strategy, maybe even earlier. That gives you a little lighter fuel, so if you are still in touch with the draft and you can get to them, you might even have a shot at passing them because you're going to have a lighter car. Or if you get the caution comes out, you got real good track position then. He's going to be the leader and he's going to have fresh tires.
Absolutely.
And they won't be able to pit because they'll have to stay out to get the lap back. So if you're not in a position to win it on pace, I think you got to play that strategy.
Well, we've got Zaleski, the front end of the group that has not pitted, ahead of Lowe by just 0.2 seconds. So, and then it's a 2-second gap from there back to Kennedy, and then Lovison falling another 2 seconds adrift of that. So, Matt, this is, we're looking at Zaleski here, 24.13 the last time by, and I'm sorry, 24.55 last time by, and Dan 24.65. How long can he afford to stay out there? Dan Ensch, that is. How long can he afford to stay out there and give up these valuable tenths of a second to the drivers behind?
Well, I mean, assuming his pit stop's good, you can give up about 10 laps worth because that's about a second. So if he can do that, then he's pretty safely within closing. And you could even give up maybe 15 laps if you're only giving it the 10th. So I would want to be coming out about 1.5 seconds back, especially if their tires are faded and they can't hold the bottom like they could. If I can, grab the draft, suck up there, and just blow by them, that's how I'd want it done.
Well, it's a 29.83 second gap from Dan Ensch to David Zaleski, and I don't think that's enough time for him to maintain the lead when he comes into the pits. I think
it's not. But his lap times right now are good. That he's running a 6:07 versus a 5:60. So, pitting right now isn't really the right call, especially when you've already decided on your strategy.
So here, Zaleski and Lowe, this working out to Jason Lowe, your championship leader's advantage, where he can actually sit behind David Zaleski, who is very fast, and Jason Lowe can sit there and save fuel for the end of this should he need it. if he was a little bit on edge. Otherwise, just conserve hopefully his tires a little bit and wait for that last lap battle that might happen between himself and second place in the point stand Ensch. You know Dan, when he gets the bit between his teeth, I mean, he's usually pretty conservative, but when he gets the bit between his teeth, if first place in the championship is waiting for him, if he wins this race, I got my money on Dan Ensch. He can go fast.
He's running faster than them right now by himself. And he just said he's pitting, but so he's got the speed. He's gonna have fresh tires. You know, if he fuels the car perfectly, you know, he's gonna have the same amount of fuel as them. So that would be, you know, good advantage. And it looks like he got a pretty good pit entry there. He didn't actually have to jump off the track. He's able to stay right on the banking and slow down. It's a little faster that way.
Absolutely is, and he pulls
34.3, so that was a great entry for him. A little slow into the box, though.
Little slow. Doesn't want to slide. That's a big problem, right? You don't want to.
Yeah.
So easy to do.
Yeah, but you do want to be faster, and he's not even moving this. He's just left the box now, and he's already getting past. So it's definitely need a good exit here to keep touch with him.
So yeah, that, as we were just talking about, did not have enough gap for Dan Ensch, and it appears as though he's fallen 3 seconds adrift of James Kennedy now. Continues to fall back. I'm
looking at some of his lap times, and I think when he got stuck behind Kennedy there, one of the laps was 5/10 off the pace, another one was 3, 2, 3, 4, 5/10, 5/10. So those like 6-7 laps I just mentioned right there, those were what cost him, you know, being in touch with the leaders. Pit exit was a 51 second, and that's pretty good for what they were running.
In the meantime, we haven't been talking about him much, but he did assume the lead of the race. Probably will be coming to the pits very soon, but Matthew J. Simpson here is in the lead. He's actually shown a lap up on everybody right now just because he hasn't pitted, and as soon as he does, that will give over the lead to David Zaleski. So we await Matthew's arrival on pit road. But
yeah, now that I've looked at it, I've actually looked at it, and Dan was about 3 seconds slower exiting pit. So I'm not sure if that was coming into the box. I'm assuming that's coming to the box, leaving the box. You know, that exit through 1 and 2 on the apron. So all that combined was really conservative from Dan. Everyone else pushed it about a second faster this time around. And that's really the big difference there and why he's so far back.
I have trouble seeing it on my screen, but if you can see it on your screen, there's the pit lane times for the different drivers on their second stop. And it looks to me like the fastest was Lowe by far, and then Kennedy, Kelba, and Lovison, they're close, but Ensch, unfortunately, definitely not as fast as the others on pit lane. So, and there we see Matthew Simpson has come in to make his final stop of the day, pitting from the lead, and that hands over the lead to David Zaleski, who's been extremely aggressive today. He's found his way to the front, in front of current championship leader, Jason Lowe, who's running currently in second. However, he's dropped about a half a second off of the back of Zaleski. So he'll try to stay in the draft there. Doesn't want to drift too far back from the draft. Although, Matt, he doesn't really care if Zaleski ends up winning this race, right? I mean, sure, you want to win if you're on your way to winning a championship. You'd love to win the race too, but in terms of the championship itself, Lowe's got to be in the frame of mind right now where he's saying, hey, I want to stay up there, I'd love to win, but if Zaleski wants to win or if Kennedy wants to come through and get the win, let him. I just want the points.
Yeah, I don't think Kennedy's going to get up there to challenge them personally. Well, I mean, he's a little faster, but I don't think he's got the speed to do it. Dan is running significantly faster than them, around 495. But he's too far back to really make that work. But if he gets a caution, for sure that's something that could, you know, possibly work in his favor. I think it's a 2-horse race. I think Lowe's just going to hang out there. There's no reason to force the issue. At least that's what I would do.
Well, with 15 to go, let's recap. We have David Zaleski here in first place, up 5 positions today, being very aggressive with Jason Lowe right behind. Jason, this is right where he qualified in second place. He's just right there. Could be his race to win, or he might settle for second. But third place is James Kennedy. It's just less than 2 seconds back to James Kennedy. James having a good race, up a position from his starting spot in fourth. We find Dan Ensch 3 seconds adrift of James Kennedy, much too far to catch that draft. But with Rick Lovison approaching from behind, there's a possibility that maybe Dan and Rick could work together. Unfortunately, it's just getting to be too little too late here, as we've got only 12 laps to go. We see Matthew J. Simpson here up 2 positions on the day, running in 6th place. Had led a couple of laps. Richard Kelba, who was up on the pole, has drifted 6 positions back. This is not what he wanted to see today. He's running in 7th place. He'll be scratching his head. I didn't see any sort of contact mentioned in my notes, but it's always possible that he did one of those 0x contacts and scraped the wall, and it didn't even register as a contact. Will Stearns, of course, out of the race, and Mike West also out of the race. I don't know that Mike even ran today. He didn't put in a qualifying time, so not sure. Perhaps he had a technical glitch. Either way, Matt, here we are, 10 laps to go. David Zaleski out in front of the StickQuik Texas 175, brought to you by Alzheimer's.org.
Yeah, he's not the one I'm watching, though, actually. James Kennedy is flying. He picked up the pace there. I think the front tires started to wear out on the other cars. Jack temps up a little bit. Zaleski's been running that bottom. Fresh 10-lap fresh tires for Kennedy. He's caught up, and he's much faster. If he can make quick work of Lowe here, I think he's got a shot for the win.
He will possibly have a shot for the win.
And Lowe's driving the tires off the car. I just saw him wiggle and then slide up the track. So he's definitely fighting an uphill game on the car here. He's definitely pushing the car to keep up.
So Lowe just gives up that position willingly. Again, probably just thinking of points, and as long as he's got Dan Ensch, which Ensch now runs in 4th, Lowe in 3rd, but Ensch 3.5 seconds back, though he does appear to be closing quite rapidly as I'm watching, but I still think it's just a little bit too much gap unless something happens to Lowe to drift further back.
Yeah, he should have pitted when Kennedy did, I think, or at least a lap or 2 after him, because Kennedy's been on the button, and he's got the draft here, and he's running 2 to 3 tenths faster than Zaleski a lap.
So back up front here with David Zaleski, who's got just 6 laps remaining here. Zaleski maintaining about a half a second gap over James Kennedy, who both of these drivers really making themselves known now, with a couple of the series favorites that aren't in the race. That's really given them carte blanche to go do whatever race they want, and they've been so aggressive to go chase them, to go push themselves out front past the series leading driver Jason Lowe and Dan Ensch. But it looks like Lowe dropping back even further, 7 tenths back. I don't know. Maybe Lowe is having fuel. Maybe with Dan catching 2.74 seconds now back, 4 laps to go. Could we be seeing Lowe having fuel issues because he pitted so early?
I don't think so, unless he short-filled by accident. That could be part of it. Doesn't sound like he's easing off the gas at all. But, I think the tires are worn out. I think he's just kind of waiting to see what happens. And yeah, I guess he could be a little short on fuel. It is possible.
Well, as we watch that championship battle, up front it's a different kind of battle. These two aren't really involved in the top 3 championship battle, but it is Kennedy and Zaleski. Kennedy is just a half a second back. Do you think he could possibly make his move and get around Zaleski here as we got 2 laps to go? Does he have enough time?
I think he does, but he needs to make a change on his line. If he keeps running low like this in a 3 and 4 and not arcing up before the corner, he's going to keep pushing. And there's no chance. He's arcing it way too late. So he actually reduces the understeer. So if he's going to do that, no, there's no chance. That's going to white flag. That's race over. He need to be on the bumper right there to have a shot at him.
Well, Zaleski here, yeah, he's not close enough for James Kennedy. Half a second back. Jason Lowe a full second back, and then Dan Ensch has about 1.5 seconds to Jason Lowe. So Dan has been catching Jason, but just a little too late. As we see David Zaleski take the victory here in Texas, with James Kennedy running a strong second place. Jason Lowe coming in third, solidifying his championship. Dan Ensch runs a great fourth place. He had a lot of different strategy working for him and possibly maybe even working against him as he had to chase down Jason Lowe, but he wasn't able to reel him in. And unfortunately for Dan, that means he will settle for second place, and that will give, until we have the official word though, I won't announce it, but that would presumptively, that will give Jason Lowe the championship. And Zaleski here doing donuts on track. Reminder to the competitors as we see Jason Lowe here doing his own donuts in celebration of his championship. An amazing job by both of these drivers, Matt.
Yeah, it was a good job. I think, like I said, I had a feeling Lowe kind of just let him go there. I think he didn't want to fight it. He didn't have anything for the win, he felt like. So, don't risk it. Take your championship. That was a smart play.
Well, Matt, this was one heck of a battle. We didn't know who was going to win until the very end, and it's Zaleski making his stamp at the top. We just wait for this to go official here, and we can show you, as soon as it does, we can show you the final results on screen. And here we go. So just as we said, here at the StickQuik Texas 175, your winner, David Zaleski. Second place, James Kennedy. Third place, Jason Lowe. Fourth, Dan Ensch. Fifth, Rick Levison. Sixth, Matthew J. Simpson. Seventh, Richard Kelba. Eighth, Will Stearns. And ninth, Mike West, who I believe was a DNS. But congratulations to David Zaleski. He did a fantastic job. So now what we're going to do is, while we have a moment, I'd like to play this message for you, which is our presenting sponsor of this race, Alzheimers.org. We didn't get a chance to see this because there was only one caution before, so we'll go ahead and play that for you now.
We've invented cars that drive themselves and 3D printers that build prosthetic arms and legs. We've successfully transplanted hearts and lungs. Now it's time to end Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is on track to cost the nation $1.1 trillion by 2050. We can either be known for having the most expensive disease in history or for putting an end to it. Ask Congress to join the fight at alz.org/time-to-end-ALZ.
All right. Well, again, congratulations to David Zaleski, who took this win, and we're trying to get our, I believe we have David Zaleski is in our chat room, as well as Jason Lowe, so we'll be able to talk to both of them. Why don't we go ahead and bring our second place in the championship finisher, Dan Ensch, up. We can talk to him first, then we'll talk to David Zaleski and Jason Lowe afterwards. Dan, are you here in the broadcast booth? Can you hear us?
Yeah, Trevor, how you doing?
I'm doing just great, Dan. So, well, we watched this whole race unfold, and Matt was calling a lot of the strategy here. Can you take us through the race and what your strategy was?
Well, basically, I just wanted to make sure I tried to match Jason in bonus points, because I think if I finished first and he finished fourth, and I could keep up with him on bonus points, then I could win the championship. So when I saw him lead that first stint so handily, I knew I had to make up some bonus points somewhere. So I put it in fuel saving mode, went in and got at least 1 point for leading for a little while. I kind of blew it there at the end. I stayed out too long, stayed out for the fresh tires a little bit too long, and that cost me. But congratulations to Jason for a great championship. Congratulations to David for a great win. My thanks to Last Lap Motorsports and everybody there who helps me out throughout the year. And also my biggest thanks to StickQuik for sponsoring this series this year. They've done such a faithful job of sponsoring us and sticking with us, and we sure do appreciate it. If you need a magnet to hang up any tool, just call StickQuik.
It looks like such a cool device, and I played a little commercial earlier for them. You can go back and watch that on the broadcast, but definitely something everybody should have in their house, that StickQuik. So go to stickquick.com, obviously, and check that out some more. Also, if you could, why don't you talk a little bit about alz.org and Alzheimer's and how that has inspired you to race and what that means to you?
Yeah, you'll see it on the side of my car and on the front wings, alz.org, and it's all about Alzheimer's. And we're trying to raise awareness for Alzheimer's and how it affects the people of the United States. People don't realize, but half of the people over the age of 85 have Alzheimer's. Whether they know it or not, they have Alzheimer's. Some of it hasn't been diagnosed. We spend an incredible amount of money, $227 billion a year on Alzheimer's research and care. And half of that is for the people who need long-term care because they don't have enough family support to get things done. Big problem, big issue. I hope everybody will go to alz.org and look it up for themselves. We need some help here.
Absolutely. My family affected by that. I know your family affected by it. Everybody is, as you just mentioned. So, hey, thanks for being a great competitor. Thanks for also being my personal teammate and friend, Dan, and I'll look forward to seeing you some more races. And you'll probably be back in this series again next year, right? To give a challenge to Jason Lowe, see if you can take the position.
Oh, absolutely. Jason has put on a great show here all year long, and I love the way this group works together on Saturday mornings to come up with a good raceable set. It's a fixed setup league, but it's better than the iRacing setup league. And we work on it on Saturday mornings and come out and have a good time. And you can see the result in the fact that we build good, stable cars so we can go one yellow for the entire length of this race and things like that. And that's what I enjoy about this league more than anything.
Well, thanks again for joining us here, Dan. We'll look forward to talking to you more. And in the meantime, do you have anything else, final parting comments to say about this season?
Oh, it's just been a total blast with these guys from top to bottom. This is the best behaved bunch of people you could ever meet, behaved at least inside closed doors. So we have a good time together, and it's a great bunch of guys. And I hate that we couldn't get more people today. I guess Monaco and the iRacing 500 had a lot to do with it today. We usually have a lot more drivers than this, but thanks to everybody for coming out and having a good showing today, especially for you guys on Virtual Racing Network.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us here, Dan. Pleasure to have you. So I will be switching over now. David Zaleski, our race winner, has joined us. David, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, congratulations, David. That was one heck of a march forward. We could tell early on you didn't sit on pole, but you made your march to the front and you made yourself known. So congratulations on your victory. How did this race play out for you?
It was basically getting on and off pit road is where it was key for me. I mean, these guys they're bad fast, so just trying to keep up with them is one thing. But I figured if I could get some good pit entry and pit exit, I might have a shot at it.
Now, you overtook Jason Lowe on that last round of pit stops, and it basically put you into the driver's seat. And so you took first place from Lowe. And what gave you the confidence to be out there running in front? I know a number of other drivers had tried to stay up there in front, including Dan Ensch, and you just seemed to get up there in front, and it seemed to work for you. What was working best for you up there?
The balance of the car felt pretty good after I got it dialed in practice, and mainly I practiced at trying to, stay in clean air and hold that bottom.
and hold the bottom. Yeah, we noticed. We were talking about a little bit on broadcast that it looked like Kennedy was not able to gain on you. He was running much higher line, so you felt the low line there at Texas was the way to go today.
Yeah, if you could keep it right down there and keep it planted, pretty much you weren't gonna get by anybody. I mean, like I said, the only way I got around Jason was just on the pit entry and exits there. Other than that, he was pretty much the man to beat.
He was indeed the man to beat. It was entertaining to say the least, but you know, while Jason and Dan were playing their games trying to figure out who was going to fuel save more or less, you and James Kennedy took total advantage of it. Now, did you happen to see any sort of incident happen with Richard Kelba? Because we did not see that on broadcast. Did he scrape the wall, or did he have another incident going from the pole backwards?
Oh, I didn't notice anything with Richard. He didn't really say anything during the race that something had happened.
Okay. Well, what's your plans for the rest of today? I know we've got Monaco that just happened. You can probably DVR that, or you've got Indy coming up. What are you up to for the rest of today?
Oh, I'll probably just kick back, relax, have a couple cold ones, and celebrate this win.
Well, that's fantastic. Congratulations to you. Obviously, made yourself known here in the series with your victory. And so you'll be back, I presume. Now, this was your second race victory of the season. You'll be back for next season?
Of course, yes.
All right, great. Something to definitely look forward to. Congratulations to you again, David. Fantastic, well done, and well-earned victory. And any final comments that you have for the group, feel free give your final comments here as the last race of the season.
I'd like to thank you guys at VirtualRacing.Network for coming on board for this last race. I'd like to also thank Jason, Dan, Richard, Howard, all the league members. I mean, these guys are top-notch guys to be running with every week. And also like to send a shout out to StickQuik and thank them for all their support over the years.
Yeah, that is such a cool device. I'm just getting into it and learning about it, but I definitely need some for my house as well. So congratulations, David. Enjoy those beers, enjoy that much-earned victory, and enjoy the rest of the racing today. So then that will give us the chance to talk to Jason Lowe, who is here as well. Jason, who was leading the points coming in. Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
All right, boss, I got you too. You were leading the points coming in. It was a question mark. It was so close back to Dan Ensch, and Dan is so skilled at saving fuel, strategy, all of that. So give me your thoughts as the points leader coming in. You didn't get the pole position. And what were you thinking coming into this? Did you have a strategy in mind that you wanted to play with? What was going through your mind?
Well, first of all, Dan's intelligence is always intimidating. He is absolutely one of the smartest iRacers out there as far as how he strategizes his race. But I do not points race. I go into every race trying to win that race, and then I let the results work out the way they work out. I knew I needed to beat him today. That was my goal. And he actually missed one race this season, but I had a computer crash and got a last place finish. So that kind of balanced that out. So it wasn't as lopsided as it looked. But I just got beat off pit road by Dave Z. He made an excellent exit to his pits and stayed out in front of me on the last stop. And I burned my right front tire off trying to stay with him, and the car just got tighter and tighter. I was scared to over-adjust it because I was going to get snapped loose, and at Texas, you can die pretty quick if you do that. So I wanted to stay in second, but once James caught up, I wasn't going to push the issue and cost us both a race, so I just did what I could to stay ahead of Dan.
Well, we saw that happen in the pits, and we were surprised, and Matt made the call, too, that it looked like you were trying to stay up with Zaleski, but again, you had the championship points in mind. And so can we officially call you, I mean, we saw you do the donuts. We assume that it's official since you're the guy in charge. Is it official? There's no penalties to be applied. There's no other issues. You are, in fact, the season 10 champion, right, Jason?
I am by 22 points over Dan Ensch and by 25 points over David Zelski. So
I had no idea it was going to get that close, but of course, Howard Livingston not being in this race and that being a penalty, essentially, it did give David Zaleski, and I apologize, I didn't know that ahead of time, but so that moves him into third place, and that's a great thing for him. But for you to be the series champion after such an attack coming from not only Dan Ensch, but a number of great racers, Graham Bunyan, who was not here today, comes to mind, as well as Bowles, who was not here in this race. You had a lot of different drivers attacking over the season, but you kept it nice and clean, and you finished, and you were in all of the races, obviously. So what was the key, do you feel, to getting this championship for you? Did you just stay nice and clean and consistent, or what was your key takeaway from this series this year?
Well, again, I go to every race with the mindset that I want to win that race. I'm kind of a terrible qualifier. I was fortunate today to be able to start up on the front row. I'm a not a great racer, but I'm a better racer than I am qualifier. Howard Livingston would have been with us today. He's a series regular, but he had grandchildren graduating from high school, and I can certainly appreciate that taking priority. Missed racing with him. Ryan and Graham, as you mentioned, are both excellent iRacers. If they dedicated themselves to a full season, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now, and I know that, and so does everybody else. But like you said, I did manage to keep it clean overall and just show up every week and put in the work.
Exactly. And you could show up for 11 races and crash out of all of them and not get any points. So you had to do your work, even if some other drivers weren't able to make a couple of the races. You had to do your work to stay consistent and at the top. And again, in this race, this was all about strategy and staying ahead of Dan Ensch, because again, it is what it is. However many competitors are in it, and Dan Ensch is your next closest points person. So if he had taken the lead, were you prepared to make adjustments to your race strategy? If Dan had shown that he was out there in front, were you getting scared at all in the race when he was out in the lead? And then also tell us about your decision to come in as early as you did for that final stop.
Well, again, Dan's intelligence is always scary. Once he started playing the fuel mileage game, I was doing math in my head, and I didn't think he could short a stop, and I didn't think that was mathematically possible. But again, he scares me for how smart he is. So I started thinking about it, and then when I was in fourth place, I played a little fuel mileage myself, and I started wondering how early I could pit, because the earlier you pit, the less fuel you take and the less time it takes. I actually probably came in a little bit early because it took more time to change my tires and it didn't put fuel in. I could have balanced that out a little better, and that might have made a difference for me getting out ahead of David, but water under the bridge. Once I knew we were all on the same fuel strategy at the end, I was just too tight to do anything with David. Then I was scared to over adjust once, other cars started catching us. I did not want to snap loose and wreck myself while I was leading the points. So I went a little bit conservative, but I still got the job done. I said I enjoy racing with Dan and David and Howard and Richard and Rick. The guys in this group are just a great bunch of guys. David Sales, he's my best friend on iRacing. I was one of the first persons I met when I started iRacing, and I really enjoy being with these guys every week and racing with them. Well,
and that is what everybody has been saying here as we've been interviewing them. It's just a great group, and it's great that you guys have stuck together this whole season and been able to see this all unfold between all of these drivers. The biggest question for you is, can you repeat in season 11? And when do we see the start of season 11? And if I was a driver who wanted to get involved with your US IndyCar League, how would I go about doing that?
Well, you apply to the US IndyCar League on iRacing. We look at your stats, and if you're, a decent oval racer, we'll let you in and give you a try. We don't turn many people away, and if we turn you away, we tell you, improve a little bit and come back, and we'll let you in the future. I don't want to break my arm, pat myself on the back, but this is actually my third championship in a row. This was season 10, and I won season 8 and season 9 as well. So I think it's kind of unlikely I'm going to go for 4. I think it's kind of unlikely I got 3. This season kind of turned out a little bit weird. It's just going to matter of, who shows up. We're going to take a week off. We take a week off between our 12-week seasons. So next week will be an off week. And the following week we'll start week 1 of season 11 of the US IndyCar League presented by StickQuik. And I'd like to thank Dan for his mention for the Alzheimer's today, the research that's needed. And it was an honor to race in this race to bring awareness to that.
And thank you so much for working with them and working with Dan to get that done. I know that's super important, especially for Dan at this time. But we actually did play a little commercial or a PSA for Alzheimer's on the channel, so hopefully we get some more information out there. And we talked a little bit about StickQuik, but what a cool sponsor StickQuik is, and it's great that they're sponsoring the series. I need some of that for my house. So you can just go to stickquick.com and just buy it straight from them, but then they're also in some different stores, as far as I understand.
Yeah, if you go to their website, it gives you information on what stores have it, or you can order it directly. And I'm hoping to talk to you two gentlemen more here in the future about doing these broadcasts for our league for season 11, if that's possible.
You bet. I'm in. I love Indy cars. You just tell me when and where to point the camera and talk about it, and I'm there. This has been a blast.
You guys did a fantastic job.
Well, you haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen the broadcast yet, unless you had a little.
I was listening along while I was driving.
So not only is he executing all of his strategy perfectly and winning the championship, but Jason also has that going. Do you also have Monaco and Indy warm up going on the same time? That's funny.
No, I had my wife in the background feed me information on that.
A man with many different sources of information, and now the 3-time winner, back-to-back winner of the US IndyCar League. Jason, you've done a great job running the show, and you've done a great job racing. So congratulations on your series championship. And that's 3 in a row. I don't know where you're going to put all these trophies now, but we'll look forward to season 11. So anybody who's interested, go through iRacing and apply to the league. Any final words that you have for the group before we end the broadcast?
Well, just this league is all about the members, and what a great bunch of guys we have. And always welcome more people, but we have a good bunch. Sorry the field was kind of small for today, different reasons. But I'm so happy to race with these gentlemen every week. It is just a pleasure. And thank you guys again.
Well, thank you. And it's been absolutely my pleasure. Matt, are you still there? Have you been listening intently with some popcorn?
Oh, yes, I have been.
Okay, great. Well, as you heard from Jason, your coverage was excellent. It's been a pleasure to call this race with you. I hope to call many more. And do you have any final comments about today's race? Was it interesting for you to call?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I think I got my call right there with saying pit lane would win it, so I was happy about that.
You absolutely did make that call, and you spotted. It was interesting to see all of these drivers not, again, Dan just not quite as quick on pit lane, and that ended up really costing him the time because he only was like a second, a little over a second adrift of Jason Lowe. And so this could have worked it out. This could have worked out either way, honestly, just with that pit stop exchange. So anyway, Matt, pleasure to have you on board. Of course, this was the StickQuik Texas 175 from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. You've been listening to myself, Trevor Greenfield, your host commentator, as well as Matt Kingsbury, who's been here in the booth with me. It's been an absolute pleasure calling the race, and we do look forward to doing potentially more coverage for this series. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to our channel here on VirtualRacing.Network and like the video. And from myself, Trevor Greenfield, as well as Matt Kingsbury, we bid you farewell. Thank you for joining us here on Virtual Race Network. Goodbye for today.